Welcome on in, everybody, to another episode of Dbacks Dispatch with your hosts, Brandon, Brett, and Gabe. Here to obviously talk about a little bit of the D-backs, but if it's your first time in here, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you do get notified whenever we go live, so you can hop in the YouTube channel and all that. If you already doing all those on YouTube, make sure you're also following us on Twitter, Blue Sky as well. And then in the links in all of our things, we do have our Discord going on. So it's a great way to, kind of get some more in-depth thoughts and kind of like talking about some of the news, especially that we're going to talk about here tonight. So if you guys have any questions that if you didn't want to put it in the chat tonight, add us in the Discord channel, perfect place for it. And we could either get to it in there, or we could, save it for the end of tonight's show, or even the end of next show and all that. But again, we are here to talk about a little bit of off-season news, some awards, some rumors on whether it be trades or some players being moved around to positions. And one of those that just came out, I believe, earlier today was from Nick Pecoro of AZ Central. Was talking a little bit about Blaze Alexander and Jordan Lawler potentially moving to the outfield. The club, and he was quoted on his article saying, the club might have two other unconventional options in center field with infielders Blaze Alexander and Jordan Lawler. Though neither has played the outfield in professional career, Hazen said there would be considerations the team weighs more heavily come spring training. He sounded more open to getting Alexander looks in center right away than Lawler, whom he wanted to remain focused on the infield, which we kind of talked about. I'll get my quick thoughts in here. I think that I would rather have Blaze go out there, especially struggling on defense a little bit this year. He still has a better arm than some of the other infielders, and we know the D-backs outfielders kind of have some noodles. So I don't think he would be Gerardo Parra-esque out there with, the arm, but it might be a little bit of an upgrade. To me, I don't know if he could fully I agree with some of the takes I saw online as well about I'm not sure if Blaze is fully center field material. I think he'd be pretty solid in like a corner. But it kind of wanted me to ask you guys, Gabe, kind of like normal, I'll start with you on this. What are some of your thoughts on potentially transitioning one of these guys to the center field or just outfield in general?
Yeah, I think this is something that's that this organization is gonna have to think about because we do have so many shortstops. Like we're like the Padres light at this point because we have Perdomo, then Lawler, Troy. We have three legit great shortstops. At least Perdomo is great defensively. Um, but I think now that this is an option, I do think maybe we should test out Lawler just because it seems like he's kind of stuck right now. He doesn't really have a place to play in because he's not going to get playing time over Suarez. He's not going to get playing time over Cattell. I floated the idea maybe moving him to first just in the meantime, but the problem that would be just he might have to stay at first for the rest of his career if we keep him there. Going back to the outfield or shortstop might be a little bit hard for him. But I do think in terms of being an athlete, he is the best athlete this organization has other than Drew Jones. He is a 5-tool player. He has a great arm. He has great speed. He has great eye for the ball. Like he is a great defender as it is at shortstop. So I think he would be perfect for center field. I can see him eventually moving there, just depending, of injury history or any other problems. And something we do lack in terms of our center fielder is power. So far, Alec hasn't shown us any, and even Jake hasn't shown us any powers. And Lawler is legitimately a 25 plus homer guy. So I would like to see him eventually, maybe, get some reps during spring training, see how he looks. And then, maybe we can start seriously considering moving one of the other outfield guys.
Yeah, I think you bring up some great points on him just kind of being blocked this year. Didn't really have much more to go last year. I know he was hit with a little bit of an injury bug, so it kind of like took away some time. That's probably one of the main reasons why he's playing in the Dominican Republic right now in the Winter League. But I do think he does, just because he's a really good athlete. We know how good he is, and he's still at least young enough to where I think he would be able to transition pretty well if the need for that kind of did come. Because I do agree with you, the power there is, or the power potential is there with him, but that's just something that's not there with Alec. And even though Jake McCarthy had a solid week and a half of hitting home runs in August, other than that, we're not really seeing much from him. But Brandon, what are your thoughts on this? Do you kind of echo some of the same things that me and Gabe feel about this, or do you have a kind of a different take on it?
If I think this is the best chance for them both to see the field consistently if they want to play a lot in 2025. But you got to be careful. If you put Lawler in center, you got to keep him there. Do not move. Like, don't put him in center 1 year and then the next year when we have a hole at third base, go put him at third. Like, if you're trying him out in center or outfield, it probably is. That's where they see him long term, and so that's where I would like to see. Because I love Corbin, I love Jake. They don't have arms. They like every team knows that they can run on us on a single. If they have a guy at second, um, Gurriel has our best arm, and he's a little bit older, and Jake had some plays in defense and center the last 2 months that I'm like, that was not pretty. He only made it look close because he's very, very fast. So I wouldn't hate the idea for Lawler. I feel like they're gonna do one of these because I really feel they're really considering trading either Jake McCarthy or Alec Thomas. I personally would try and trade Jake right now because you're selling high, very, very high right now because of the way that he finished the season. If you try and trade Alec right now, I don't know if you're gonna get a lot because that's selling low. So if I had to pick between Blazer, Lawler, I would like to see Lawler because, like Gabe said, he's a 5-tool player. So he's so athletic. He can play any one of probably the three outfield. I don't want them to be like, oh, it's spring training. Let's try you in center now. Like, I hope they're doing it now, not in
Yes,
February.
I'm not sure if there's any way they could like contact the coaches down the DR and it's like, hey, so is there any way you can like slot him in there in the outfield, maybe test him out a little bit? I don't know if I obviously don't think they would do that. They probably want to have their hands on him, but I do agree with you on the fact that if you're going to move him out there, either keep him out there, have him just become a center fielder, or just focus on one area. Don't do what they did with Cattell, and I believe it was 2019. Maybe it was. I think it was 2019 and 2020 where he was our center fielder, and we saw what it did to his hamstrings and his health. He just couldn't stay up. I'm not saying that Law is going to be the same, but obviously with a little bit of the injury scare that we've had with him, his shoulder when we first drafted him, I think he had some hamstring issues last year as well. I don't want to try to take a chance of re-aggravating it or taking away because he does on top of the, like Gabe said, that 25 plus power potential, he does have a lot of stolen base potential as well. He's really fast, which I
Yeah.
think is part of the reason why they're, considering it. And I agree with you as well. I would definitely lean more, probably getting something good with Jake while you can. But again, that's a whole that'll be a conversation that we'll probably save for another stream when we start to get some like trade talks going. But to kind of circle back on a little bit of what Gabe was talking about with Lawler on potentially moving him to first base if they don't have an option, because some of the other news that we got, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, 2 days ago, I'm sorry, was Christian Walker officially declined his qualifying offer. The qualifying
What?
offer was, I know, shocked. Color us all shocked here. But his qualifying offer the D-backs sent his way was a 1 year, $21.05 million deal. He declined it if he does go to another team, which again we've talked about it before. We'll even go in a little more in depth. Wouldn't surprise us at all. But we would get a draft pick back. And the question I had for you guys, especially again, we knew this was coming. This isn't too surprising. It's not going to catch us off guard. But now that this news is official and he has officially declined it, what in your mind are the chances on like a 0 to 100% kind of like percentage scale like that that we do bring him back? And then if he does inevitably go to a team like the Yankees, maybe the Mets pivot from Alonso, go to the better first baseman. Sorry, I had to get that jab in there. Who do you see this team kind of going to replace him, like Lawler, or is there another name that could potentially be on like the trade market that they could try to find a way to get them onto the roster? So Gabe, I'm going to start with you on this one as well.
So I am a little worried that he declined the qualifying offer. I mean, I do think he deserves, to be wined and dined by the rest of the league. There are a few teams I think that need a first baseman, like the Mets, like the Yankees. So that he is gonna be getting some calls here. I do think the Yankees, like if there's any team that's going to get him. I do think it's probably going to be Yankees. Um, at just because they can pay. So I think it'll just come down to Walker with does he want to get the money or does he, want certain, stability and familiarity here with Arizona. So if it's not Arizona, it'll probably be the Yankees, unless some other team just, gives him so much more money. Like people have been mentioning the Nationals, which is crazy. I don't understand that move at all with the Nationals. Um, but if we're not able to keep Walker and he moves somewhere else, this has been floated around recently, and it's something I had thought about as well. Is Cody Bellinger? If you compare their numbers, they are relatively similar. He does
Arizona native.
walk
He is from the state of
Arizona
Arizona,
native.
everybody.
He probably lives here in the offseason. I can see him. I know his family still lives here. So, um, but Walker had about 50 percentage points on the OPS more, but Cody Bellinger also had like 40 less strikeouts. Like if you compare their numbers, they were very, very similar players. Just Walker had more power, obviously, um, which is something you do need from the first base position. So, uh, I mean, I think that's a relatively good option, but one way we can have it done and not, lose any big, big prospect or anything. Because I have said before, like we shouldn't be so precious with our prospects. But when I say something like that, I mean like, getting an elite closer, an elite pitcher, or like an elite batter. Not, you know, s- Yandy Diaz is great, but I don't think we should give up a big prospect for Yandy Diaz. But with Bellinger, the Cubs have been wanting to shed payroll. So one way they could shed payroll is do a 1-for-1 trade with Jordan Montgomery, which I know it seems crazy, but Jordan Montgomery does have a lot of upside. He knows the NL Central very well. Um, he's primed for a comeback season, and he's making 5 million less than Cody Bellinger, so I'm sure that would make the people at the Cubs very happy to have to pay a guy 5 million less, but also they don't have to worry about Cody Bellinger because Cody Bellinger also has a player option for 25 million for next year, and he can either have a great season this year, opt out, or he's just going to opt in again. So they're sort of on the hook for $50 million for Bellinger, or they could just trade for Montgomery, maybe probably even get a good season for him, trade him at the deadline, whatever they want to do with him. We get our first baseman, and then they get a pitcher that they can either actually use or trade halfway through the season.
Yeah, so you brought that up in the group chat, and I was like, and I believe even Dalton, because I sent it on his reply to that Goldschmidt happened tweet, and I think that's not out of the realm of possibilities. Especially maybe even if they do move a guy like Blade or a guy like Jake or Alec, and they want to slot Corbin in to be the full-time center fielder, and then maybe instead of bringing Bellinger as a first baseman, they leave him in the outfield. I still think there's a way where that trade would be okay with me. And I know hasn't been a first baseman the last few years, but he was brought up as a first baseman in the Dodger system before they transitioned him to the outfield. Because I believe Max Muncy is the one that won that spot over him before they obviously got Freddie over there. But I think that's a really solid option, especially when you bring up the numbers on the less strikeouts and all that. And again, we've said it before, we're going to take a hit no matter who we put over at first defensively. But I would rather take the hit defensively, but have that offensive upside with Cody Bellinger than, in my mind, what I still think is probably going to more realistically happen if we don't go a trade route is we just stay in house and just give Pavin Smith the bulk of the at bats. Which I know how we all feel about Pavin Smith. I think that it's definitely more suited as like a 200-300 at
Sorry,
bat
Ethan.
season.
But yeah,
like a 200-300 at bat kind of thing. But I don't know. I want to pass it to you, Brandon, because I'm curious to hear your thoughts on either the same thing as Gabe said, and also as I asked before, the realistic chances of us re-signing him, and then if we don't re-sign him, where would we pivot from here?
so I've accepted the fact that he's not coming back. So I'm like, if I accept it now, when it happens, I won't be so disappointed because, like Gabe said, he deserves it. I think it's the main reason he declined the qualifying offer is he wants to go through that process. He's never gone through it. We don't know. Maybe he does want to come back. He just wants to see what else is out there. Like, so with this qualifying offer, if he signs for more than 50 million, we get a second round pick. He signs for less than 50 million, we get a third round pick. So it's not like it's gonna hurt us. Like it's gonna be tough the first like 2 or 3 years because we won't really see anything come of those picks for a couple of years. I do want Walker back because if we can keep Walker, I feel like our window for playoffs and postseason will still be open. If we lose him, it depends on what we replace him with. So I'd probably say I'm like 50-50 that he comes back. And I want him to make a decision really early. I do not want to get to February and we don't know where he's going. And also what Gabe said about the Nationals, it actually makes sense for them. They have a lot of young talent. They need that veteran presence. So it makes sense for them because I don't know what's going on with CJ Abrams because that didn't really work out, but they have Dylan Cruz, James Wood. So they got a lot of young, good talent there. And this thing with Cody Bellinger, like, if they can make the move and shed that Jordan Montgomery contract, whether that's trading him straight up, like 1v1, or maybe we add another prospect on top of that for an offensive bat, because like our buddy here, Oscar said in the chat, Cubs need offense. So maybe we send them one of our, maybe Jorge Barroza. Maybe they'll be willing to take him. I would be okay with that. Cody Bellinger's actually been pretty good the last 3 seasons. He had a WAR 1.4 in 22, 4.4 in 23, and 2.2 last year. So I think he would be a really good replacement for Christian Walker. So I've accepted the fact that he's not coming back. I hope that he does. I've accepted that he's going to be a New York Yankee because they need a first baseman, and yeah, Yankee fans have been trying to say, "Oh, he's going to be a Yankee for like 3 seasons now."
Yes, and also welcome in Bubba as well. Always a pleasure to have you, and Oscar as well. Always love the OGs in here. I do think you're not going to have too many opportunities as a 34-year-old finally hitting free agency and going to be touted, especially he could have one down year and he's already taken a huge hit financially. He's not going to be flown over the country or flown around the country to all these places for teams to make their pitches for him. So I definitely see him, or see why he declined it, going through that process, kind of that new experience, seeing what it's like. I'm on the same boat. I would love him back no matter what. Like if we re-signed him and it was, the $25 million a year, whatever a lot of things are projecting, I'd be still okay with it. But I do think that the potential pivot to a different guy like Cody Bellinger would be nice. And then especially I would still be okay with bringing back Goldie to be a Grichuk replacement, because that could be your backup first baseman. I just don't want us to go the Josh Bell, Pavin Smith route. Not like that. That's terrible. Not saying it's garbage, but I just don't want to see really us kind of, I guess, settle in a way.
Yeah, and I think something we're forgetting about too, this team has talked about payroll, and they didn't say they're going to, shed payroll or anything really. Like this team is automatically shedding payroll just because Grichuk, Newman, and Jock all declined, their options or just went to free agency. I think combined it's about 10 million between the three of them. And with Walker gone, that's 10 million. Obviously with the arbitrations, that's 20 million. So you're talking about contracts, even if we get rid of Montgomery this time too, you're talking about, shedding close to $43 million. And if you add the Bellinger contract, you're still around, $20 million or $15 to $20 million that you would have, quote unquote, extra in the bank, that you can still have the same payroll. But because again, Bellinger, if he comes here, you're not necessarily spending more money because again, you're getting rid of the Walker contract, which is 10, and then the Montgomery one, which is 23. So together, you're still spending less money, which you can go out and spend on a guy like Paul Goldschmidt. But also, again, we also got rid of the Paul Sewell contract. That's $7 million. So this team does actually have quite a bit of money to spend, despite the the larger contracts that we have. So, I think fans trying to play GM should remember, like, this team does have a lot more money right now then you might think so.
Everyone, we just need to be patient. I don't think we're going to get any news for a couple of weeks until we have the winter meetings, which is December 8th through the 12th. I think that's when the first snowball drops, and that's where Juan Soto decides where he's going. Nothing else is going to happen or nothing major will happen until Juan Soto decides where he's going, because that's going to have a trickle down effect. So I think that's probably what it is. Like, no team is really able, because they're like, if they don't get Juan Soto, then they're going to pivot to what else they need to get. So Christian Walker might be second on the Yankees list. They may not be doing anything until they find out, do we or do we not get Juan Soto? Maybe they can't afford Walker if they sign Juan Soto.
Yeah, I could definitely see Juan Soto's contract decision or free agency decision being kind of like how Ohtani, not like held hostage, but was definitely all right. Once Ohtani went off the board last year, that's when I felt like a lot more like news started to go through. Like a lot of guys, like obviously guys that are posted, like Sasaki, he'll have a specific window to where a deal gets made. So it's not like we have to actually wait like 2.5 months. But I think it's definitely gonna be a kind of waiting game, waiting to see what happens. But one thing that we no longer have to wait to see what happens, and I guess not, it's technically an on-field move the D-backs made, but it's not really on-field for the roster. It is that they filled their vacant third base coaching position by hiring Sean Larkin, who was the former farm director. I can't speak apparently anymore. Who was hired last year to replace Josh Barfield, who is now the White Sox assistant GM. And Larkin is now going to take over at third base. I know there's not too much like coaching that I could see about it, like, too much necessarily like on-field experience as being a third base coach. So I kind of wanted to, kind of get your guys' thoughts on the move, and then, wonder if there's really any expectations for him, or is this going to be one of those where it's a blank slate, not Taylor Swift. Only time will really tell on what he can actually do with this team. If we're going to see an improvement on the defense, like I know Tony P was a part of that. If we're going to see maybe riskier sends, some, rookie mistakes as a third base coach for, maybe a more veteran guy like Tony Parashika doesn't make that send, or maybe he gets a little bit aggressive with the sends that, we don't see. So, Gabe, I want to kind of pass it to you like normal. What are your thoughts on the D-backs filling the third base coach void?
I would say that this year and some of the playoffs last year were rookie mistakes on Tony's side. There was quite a few sends that he took, which made no sense at all. And there were some where he held up, was it Christian Walker or something like that in the playoffs or later in the season, which could have won the game but didn't. Like, there was a few plays recently where had everybody questioning Paris Chico about it. But I do think having Sean Larkin there, I think it would be good for the team, just getting like a new look. I think with the way that last season ended, they probably just need new voices in the team, having younger guys as well. Sean Larkin is pretty young still. Like, he's in good shape. He should be able to help him, running drills and fielding and everything, which something we've just mentioning Cody Bellinger. I know he hasn't played much first base, but having maybe Sean Larkin there, having Dave McKay could help him become a great first baseman, just like they did with Goldie and Walker, since they both weren't known for their defense either. But I do think it's a good move. I mean, he's worked with this organization for like a year or two now. Like, he is relatively new. I'm very curious about what the pitch was in the room and why they decided to move him up. Like, maybe they want to move him up to some other position later on in time, maybe some sort of bench coach position. Like, he is moving up in his organization, so I'm curious to see, where this goes. But I don't think, there'll be so many rookie mistakes. I think it'd probably be a little more conservative just to, get his footing straight.
I'm kind of hoping the same because again, love Tony P, love what we did here, but there were some questionable sends on whether, like you said, they weren't as aggressive as they should have been, or one of those where, hey, why are you signing Christian Walker when there's a really strong arm in the outfield on a shallow hit ball and he's barely rounding third base? Like, what are we doing, Tony? But same question to you, Brandon. Say, what are some of the thoughts on the move, and then again, just expectations on him, or is this going to be something that, like I said, just time will tell?
I have no expectations for Sean Larkin whatsoever. I know very little about him. other than he played minor league baseball for a couple of years. He's been working in baseball for a while, so he's not someone that's somewhat new to being a coach. Worked for the Dodgers and the Guardians. The thing that impressed me the most is he's been basically either the head field coordinator or the assistant field coordinator, which I think is going to help out this infield quite a bit. I think everyone can improve. Cattell can always get better. Suarez can get better. I still think Domo can get better. And as the captain of that infield, he needs to be our best defender. He really, really does. And whoever we get at first base, whether that's the platoon of Bell and Pavement Smith, which, y'all, I will be on edge every single game if that's the case. For me, that's like option number 5. Like, that's like the last thing. Like, if we're in February and we don't really have an answer at first base, that's what they do. Is they bring back someone like Josh Bell or someone else that hits against lefties. So then Pavin basically starts at first against righties. But I'm hoping he does well. But again, I have no expectations. I'll probably give him the entire season before I probably get on him for some decisions. I don't think the fan base is going to be that way. Fan base will jump on him on the first either non-send or major mistake send that he does at third base.
I feel like that'll just be the natural fan reaction. It depends on, like, because again, I've even done that before. I'm like, why didn't you send him, or why would you send him? But it depends on, like, if you're immediately asking for his job, then it's like, okay, let's relax a little bit. Let's relax.
Bump the brakes, kid. Bump the brakes.
Yes, I think I'm on the same page as you. Just not many expectations. Just kind of hoping to see in this, especially I think the fact that he's a farm director. I know it was only for a year. But he was still with the team. It's not like we just pulled him out of nowhere. I do think that, maybe he does have somewhat of a repertoire built with some of these young guys. Because again, we do have a lot of younger guys on the team. I know it's not the Gino and some of these, and like even Gabby, these guys that came from outside of the organization that are maybe not as familiar with him. I do think that, it could be, something where he's already on that same, or he's already built that relationship with them. So it's going to be kind of an easier transition. But again, we'll just have to hopefully see. I would imagine after a few months, we'll have a few examples and a few things to kind of highlight and be like, oh, cool, maybe this is an example of
2 weeks. I give it 2 weeks before there's something.
I mean, more of like we can at least have like a nice sample size to really digest. Like, okay, does he need to dial it back? Where does he need to kind of like, figure his stuff out as a third base coach? As we say here, and we've probably never been a third base coach in our lives, so we know exactly what we're talking about. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? But one thing that, like, I don't know if you had any other final thoughts, Gabe. Looked like you wanted to say something. No? Okay. So one of the things that I like what Brandon said is we can always be better. We can always improve. Everybody can in every aspect of life. And especially anybody that is trying to fight for the second and third spot in the MVP for the National League, because there's only going to be a way to go up, because we know who the king of the mountain is, at least right now, because it's his first year here. But with the way the media is, with the way he's playing, especially if he's back on the mound pitching next year, that's going to be Ohtani. Because tonight they did announce the NL MVP winners. To nobody's surprise at all, Ohtani was unanimous, got all 30 first place votes, finished with 420 points. I think that was obviously positive, not a minus 420 like his betting odds, I imagine, going to be the MVP, which he probably threw a couple million on. Sorry, had to get the betting joke in there. Francisco Lindor, shortstop for the Mets, did finish second place. He got 23 second place votes, 7 third place, for a total of 263 points. And then our second baseman, Ketel Marte, fuck you, Garrett Stubbs, came in at third place. He got 5 second place votes, 13 third place. And then some of these other ones confused me a little bit. 9 fourth place, 2 fifth, and then 1 sixth. Whoever voted for him for 6th must have been like a Dodger writer, must have been like a Phillies writer, or somebody just hated him. But he did wind up with the third most amount of points and got 3. Some of the other voting that I'll kind of like quickly touch on here. Chris Sale got a second place vote, which
that has to be a Brave. That has to be a Brave.
There's a whole award category for pitchers, which, hey, tip of the cap to Chris Sale. He had a great bounce back year. Nothing knocking him as an actual player. But then like Marcell Ozuna, who again still had another good year, but Ozuna from the Braves got a second place and a couple third place finishes.
Braves rider. It has to be a Braves rider.
Has to be a Braves guy. But the question I had for you guys was obviously other than Ohtani, were there any surprises for how some of these final voting results ended? Kind of like I brought up with Sale. And then a little follow-up kind of second part of that is how much do we still hate Garrett Stubbs? So Gabe, I'm going to start with you again.
I hate Garrett Stubbs as much as I hate Ryan Braun. Like, I would go to my deathbed cursing both their names, like, for eternity. He ruined Ketel's chances. I mean, I know, Ohtani would have won anyways because the whole 50-50 thing, but he could have made it close. It was at least exciting. Like, they're both.
He would have been second place for sure. Like, he would
Yeah,
have been second place for sure.
they're both neck and neck. Like, at least with the home runs and RBI, they're close enough that like you could make the argument, that maybe Ketel could, slide in there. But yeah, no, I don't understand the the Lindor over Ketel. Like, I know he had like point half a WAR or whatever higher than him just because of the, I guess, play second base. Second base. Yeah, Ketel plays second base and he plays shortstop, so just automatically, just a little bit harder defensively. But he's a leader. Like, that's all that the media would ever say. They never mentioned his numbers at all. They would just say he's a leader. He's a this. He's a that. Bunch of names and numbers. Like, there's a lot of leaders in on teams. Like, what about freaking Hayward? He's a leader. According to the Cubs, he's the greatest leader of all time. Why didn't he get MVP votes? Like, if this is all it was based on, then, the entire league would have at least one guy. But, yeah, it's just stupid. Lindor shouldn't have been number 2. It should have been Ketel. But at the end of the day, Ohtani was going to be the unanimous winner. So I can understand why Ketel didn't bother being in the ceremony. He's enjoying himself in the DR with his family. Like, I wouldn't either. Like, if I knew it was going to be an automatic L, why show up? Like, this was the Ohtani show, and yeah, so why show up to that?
Yeah, say Bubba brings up in the comment section here. Did you see that a 6th place vote for Ketel was a Dodger insider? And then Brandon in our private chat here on the StreamYard did end up saying that the person that gave Chris Sale the 2nd place vote was a Dodger writer. So pretty sure that's just a full-on Dodger writer being a hater. He's like, I'm not going to vote for a Met. I'm not going to vote for a D-back. Chris Sale, I have no qualms with you. Cool. Like, I'll give it to you. But yeah, same, like, kind of same boat. Like I even put in there, not surprised at all that Ohtani won. The second Ketel missed, a week or two with that ankle thing, and we saw his numbers, maybe not come back to the same level once he was back because, again, he kind of came back with still a hurt ankle, as we saw. But yeah, Garrett Stubbs, I have nothing but unkind things to say. That'll keep them PG on here, and I will save them for the Discord in our group chat. But Brandon, same to you. Any surprises other than Ohtani, like with how some of the voting worked out with, I know the guys after Ketel Marte, it was Ozuna was in 4th, William Contreras of the Brewers was 5th, Bryce Harper 6th, and then Chris Sale. This is obviously just where my screenshots ended. I know Brandon did mention that Merrill Kelly got some MVP votes somewhere. I thought is what he said. Or no, Jackson Merrill. Sorry, Jackson Merrill did. My bad.
You teed me up. You teed me up right there. I'm gonna go on a rant. How can you be rookie of the year but only get 1 MVP vote? But the runner-up got like 25 votes for MVP. Have that make sense to me. Please, somebody explain to me how you're the best rookie, but you're not valuable on your own team. How does that make sense? And I'm only doing this because it cost me $650, y'all. That's the only reason I am so agitated about this, because it doesn't make sense to me. I get Skeens is, and I'm not disputing, is the most dynamite rookie pitcher we've ever seen. I won't say most dynamite rookie because I think what Corbin Carroll did last year, there's a reason why pitchers only win rookie of the year like once a decade. Because how can you say a guy that doesn't play every day be the best? There's a reason why most pitchers aren't in the MVP talks. They're Cy Young. And so, like, the whole thing drives me nuts. I do want to give a shout out. Nick Pecora gave Cattell a second place vote, so he's our guy. We love him over here. So apparently Robert Nightingale, so Bob Nightingale is considered an AZ chapter writer. So I'm not sure how that works exactly.
He's based out of Scottsdale, is what it is.
Because I'm like he's like he writes for the USA Today. So my only surprise was just the fact that Jackson Merrill was second in Rookie of the Year, but he was like he finished with 57 points. Paul Skeens had 1. Paul Skeens got an 8th place vote. Jackson Merrill got 2 5th place votes. So like I just don't understand how you could be runner up in Rookie of the Year, but I'm like, so he's more valuable to his team than Skeens is. Shouldn't that make him a better rookie? Like, that's what I don't understand. That's what confused me about this so much.
The writers just wanted to get themselves the chance to try to watch a Pirates game with Livy Dunn. That's all it is. That's all it was.
That's how all of that's how all this voting is. It kind of just makes no sense. Same with this, the Hall of Fame voting. Like, it's just stupid. I'm like, let's you get rid of, or at least overhaul this voting system. Same with like the Electoral College and everything else. Like, it's all just crazy to me. I'm just like, how about we have the guy who gets voted on the most win? Like, why do we have to do all these weird peripherals and just? I mean, I guess maybe it causes controversy, so then we're all talking about it. Like, I don't know why else to keep these weird systems in place. And with the Hall of Fame voting, they get 10 votes. They give them like 20 guys, and then people will vote for their pet project, but then they won't vote in, Barry Bonds or Derek Jeter as unanimous guys because of like, oh, well, I had to vote in, some slapdick guy from my team, 30 years ago that, deserves a nod or whatever. Like, it's dumb. I think we should just figure out a new way to do these voting.
Yeah, so yeah, I definitely, like, Brandon said, I get the gripe. I would be making the same exact case as him if I was this close to, cashing in on 650.
Like, if neither
really
one
good
of
for a while
them
there.
got MVP votes, I wouldn't care. But the fact that Jackson got a decent amount more than Skeens, and I love how people were saying the only reason Skeens won is because of Livy Dunn, and that just makes me laugh because that's not the case.
Yeah,
but
it's
a fun like little conspiracy hat thing to put on because she was way more excited he won than he did. He looked like he didn't give a damn that he won Rookie of the Year.
That's what is so scary with certain pitchers. I feel like if these pitchers aren't like showing emotion, they're just robots on the field, and they're just gonna be insane. Like, they're just like, I go on the mound, I throw the ball 102 with like nasty movement. He's like, so that's where I save my energy and my emotions for.
He's just a chill guy. That's why he's just a chill guy.
Or the fact that he actually found out weeks ago, and that's when he celebrated like because I'm pretty sure they tell the players like weeks in advance.
But I will say, Brandon, the reason why there's probably that disparity between getting MVP votes and then Rookie of the Year is because they're both voted on by different writers. It's not the same guys voting on the same. Different writers get different things. So some are just voting for MVP. Some are just voting for
See,
Rookie of the Year. So not the
that
same
doesn't make sense
Yeah.
to me. Like everyone should vote the same or nobody vote. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So like I think the PHNX with Jesse, I think he did. What did he do? Rookie of the Year. He's not doing MVP. Yeah, he didn't do MVP. He didn't do Cy Young or anything. Different writers get different things, and that's one of the reasons why Buster Only doesn't vote on any of that because he thinks it's stupid. He thinks it should be
because it is.
They should all have an option to vote for things rather than just being given one specific thing. And he doesn't like the voting system either. But I mean, that's just the way it is. It's stupid, and I think it should be fixed because it doesn't make sense. Why you're being voted on for like an MVP while also not getting the same respect in another category.
I think they should just have it be the players, partially, because they know how valuable each guy is.
Isn't that how a lot of isn't there a certain award that's like actually decided by like coaches and players too?
Gold Glove is decided by
make Oscar voter. I like it. Make Oscar and Gabe voters. They're actual well-known ball knowers.
Yes, they know ball.
Yeah, say the whole MVP votes and the NL Cy Young or the Rookie of the Year and the voting like that. There'll always be some questions behind it. And again, no surprise to anybody that Cattell wasn't able to take home any hardware for this really good season that he had. Like again, if it wasn't for fucking he who shall not be named Voldemort in a an overalls over there, loser. There are at least some D-backs in the organization that did at least end or have in their November receive a little bit of hardware, and that would be the Salt River Rafters, repping the hat right here. It was at the game Saturday. The Salt River Rafters, which the D-backs and 4 other teams have their prospects on. I think it's the D-backs, Nationals, Twins, Yankees, and Rockies. They took down the Saguaro or the Saguaros. I'm sorry, I forgot the beginning part of it, but they did take down the Saguaros, who were looking for their 3rd straight AZFL championship. Some of the names that were on the Raptors championship squad for the D-backs, one of the more well-known ones, everybody probably saw a bunch online. Even I got a bunch of photos and all that. Tommy Troy, 22 games, started the fall league terrible, ended up finishing with 3 home runs, 12 RBIs, and a really solid slash of 290, 380, 484 with a 864 OPS. Gino Groover, not as much for the power, but boy, was he just a hit machine. In 18 games, 65 at bats, he had 22 hits, 11 RBIs, 12 runs, 8 walks to 13 Ks with a slash of 339, 413, 354, and a 767 OPS. Christian Robinson, who we'll get to him a little bit more. Obviously, this is a kind of like a little 2-parter segment we have here, but Christian Robinson, 19 games, 69 at bats, nice. 1 home run, 1 triple, 4 doubles, 9 RBIs, 8 walks to 22 Ks, a little more swing and miss, but he had a really solid slash, 319, 405, 449, and 854 OPS. Then we move on to some of the pitchers that were there. Dylan Ray, one of the D-backs pitching prospects, I think in the top, 15 or 20, something like that. 5 games, 13 innings pitched. He got shelled a little bit, gave up 18 hits, 12 runs, 11 of them earned, with a 7.62 ERA and a 1.79 WHIP. Again, in 13 innings, the pitcher's stats are going to look really inflated. Philip Abner, lefty out of the bullpen. He actually looks like he has some pretty nasty stuff. Looks like a little bit more deceptive than like Saul Frank and guys like that. He'd be kind of a guy to keep on, or a guy to keep an eye on. But he had 8 games, 8 1/3 innings pitched, 4 runs, 4 earned runs, 10 Ks with a 4.32 ERA and a 2.16 WHIP. I think the 5 walks there kind of hurt him with the WHIP. So he was still pretty solid. And then Alfred Murillo kind of gave me a little bit of Luis Frias vibes, but in a good way. He had 8 games, 9 innings pitched, 5 runs, 5 earned, with a 5 ERA and a 1.444 WHIP. So I know that was kind of a quick, a lot of numbers, a lot of things like that. But you guys have the doc in front of you. Who are some of the names that impressed you just off of, like, I don't know if you got to watch too much of the fall league or see too many highlights, or just even going off the stats? Who are some of the names that impressed you, and then who are you going to try to keep an eye on a little bit and kind of a few tabs on as we go into the 2025 season? Gabe, I'm going to start with you as well.
So I have 2 guys. So the first one is Tommy Troy. Like, this dude is, I think he's legit. Like, when he got drafted, I thought he was a very good player. He's quickly becoming, one of the top ranked prospects in the organization for a reason. Like you talked about, he struggled a little bit, but he came back around. If you look at these numbers, I mean, you're talking about a guy 290, 380, and 484. Like that's a crazy, crazy good stat. The only thing that would concern me is just that he struck out at a 25% clip.
Yeah.
But most of those came at the beginning because I believe he was like 1 for 11 or something like that with a whole bunch of strikeouts. And then he adjusted and then he was fine again. So I think, he's about maybe, honestly, maybe about a year away. I can see him coming up next year. He is the same age as Jordan Lawler, but Jordan Lawler obviously has more time in the minors than him because Tommy just got drafted. But also Christian Robinson, it was good to see him out there, like, with all of his troubles that he's had off the field. It's good to see him actually being able to participate like this and put up some decent numbers. I don't know what the future holds for him. I can maybe see him becoming a guy that eventually gets traded off and becomes, a good player somewhere else, just because we have so many outfielders. But it would be nice to see him eventually make it to the major leagues. But those are the 2 main guys for me.
Yeah, so Christian Robinson, again, like I said, we'll save some of the deep dive on him or the more opinionated stuff on him for at least a second. I like Gino Groover a little bit. I know his power numbers weren't as appealing as Tommy Troy. I know the 864 OPS to the 767, but that 339 average, he was just a hit machine. It looked like he was just, and I'm always okay with a guy. It doesn't always have to be power. We have plenty of guys that have power. If we can have a dude that just consistently get on base, call it the Moneyball draft right there. Does he get on base? Gino Groover gets on base. But Brandon, kind of same to you. Just looking at some of the numbers, if you did, obviously I know you're probably on Twitter a lot more than I am, at least as of late. Whether you saw some videos or just on kind of what you heard in passing and all that. Who impressed you the most in the fall league for the D-backs that were there, and then who are you going to try to keep a few tabs on as we go through the 2025 season?
So you stole mine. I was going to say Gino Groover, and I've said this multiple. Anytime that we're talking about prospects, but for me, it's Gino Groover. Like I just like the way he plays. Like I really think he is a underrated prospect we have. Potentially first baseman of the future. As he does play first, second, and third. So I think right there, the fact that he plays all three of those positions and he's not atrocious at them, he is decent. Because he made it all the way up to Double-A this past season. So he made it to Amarillo. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where he starts. Depending on how he does, maybe he makes it to Reno by August or something, and maybe 2026. We're talking about Gino Groover making his major league debut, unless he has some crazy stuff happen this in 2025, and they're like, you know what, let's bring him up and see what he can do at the major league level. That's a really big jump, though. He only played 13 games in Double-A, so it'd be a big jump for him to somehow make it to the major league roster. I don't have any thoughts on Christian Robinson because I just don't think he's gonna make the major league roster because we are so deep at outfield. Like I just don't see it. Like how could he play enough for us to really get to see it? Like I just don't think it's there. I just don't think, like, he's doing okay. That's the thing. For me, he's not doing enough for them to like, okay, we have to bring him up. Like he's doing okay. And I think that's the thing is he's doing decent and other teams are like, he doesn't look like he's worth trading for.
Yeah, it could be a similar situation like we saw with Davis and De Los Santos. I know he was a little bit different for the Guardians. He didn't really have a defensive home. Chris Robinson is a little bit better defensively, but we've talked about it a little bit. We teed it up. You put it right there on the tee for me, and I'm going to swing my hardest and probably roll over to the third baseman. But the D-backs did add 2 prospects to the 40-man roster to keep them Rule 5 draft ineligible. One of them was outfielder Tim Tawa. He had really solid numbers in Double-A and Triple-A this year. That light Tawa Powa. 142 games, 613.
I can't wait to hear Steve Berthium say that, by the way.
Dude, I need it. But he slashed across, and he did have 31 home runs, 21 in Double-A, 10 in Triple-A. So I think he finished his season in Reno the last month or two, and just kind of went off there. 279, 349, 519 slash with an 868 OPS. And then the other arm or the other name that the D-backs kept on the 40-man or added to the 40-man to keep from being snagged by the teams is right-handed starting pitcher Joe Elvis. I hope I'm not butchering that, but he had 24 starts, 135 and a third innings between High A Amarillo, or I think it was Hillsboro and Amarillo. Thank you. I confuse the two all the time. Gave it 57 runs, 51 earned, 9 home runs to 47 walks, and 112 strikeouts. For a 3.39 ERA and a 1.190 WHIP. I know sometimes pitching numbers can be inflated in the Pacific Coast League where they play, so pretty solid numbers. And I know it's not Reno numbers. If he's putting up a 3.30 ERA in Reno, get that man in the rotation this instant. But we'll have to see a little bit more of a step up from him. But as we're kind of talking about One name that I imagine was a little surprise to me personally, and maybe to some other D-backs fans out there listening, Christian Robinson was left off of the 40-man roster, so he is available for other teams to try to snag. He does have to make the opening day roster and stay, I believe, the entire season, or he's returned to us. So there is a good possibility of that, especially with how young he is. Some of the time he missed, maybe that does affect how ready he is for the major league, major league caliber pitching. And maybe even some other teams see that and they don't even want to waste a Rule 5 on him. But again, he is out there and available for some of these other teams to at least, give a flyer on, see if he can fit. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if a team like the Marlins or, maybe the White Sox try to be like, hey, maybe we can find a gem, somebody that just makes this team just a little bit better. So, Brandon, I know that you kind of gave your thoughts. We'll circle back to you on it, and so you can kind of go into more of a deep dive with him. But Gabe, I want to get your opinion with this. Were you surprised at all with Christian Robinson being left off the 40-man? And maybe if there's other guys that you would have seen being added?
No, not really. Just because he's in such a weird place where he was in limbo for so long, where he didn't do anything. This team has had him since he was 17 years old, like since 2018. He is still very young. He doesn't turn 24 until a little bit later this year. So he is still a part of that whole class, like, Alec, Corbin, like they're all around the same age. But it doesn't surprise me just because he would take up a roster spot, and this team, I think, would rather, have guys that they know what they can get out of them rather than Christian Robinson, because I think he just missed so much time, and like being able to come back to the game like that and, have your footing, coming back to, the type of prospect that you were before, it's incredibly difficult, especially after, spending 3 years without playing any sort of, professional ball. So, he's kind of starting from scratch. It's almost like if they just barely drafted a college player right now. So it doesn't surprise me. I would hope the D-backs keep him, but at the same time, I just want to see him, actually progress through the majors because he was a great prospect. He is a great guy. He's an incredibly athletic player as well. So it would be nice to see him at some point. Um, he is so the way the Roll 5 draft works, like I think they pay the team 25,000 to rent him essentially. If they keep him on the roster, the team pays you 50,000, and if they don't, then they just give you your $25,000 back. So any team can take a flyer off of him, but I think a lot of teams are right now just trying to figure out like what they have internally, and then they'll see. Maybe at some point during the season they might trade for him, but as of right now, he's probably going to stay with the D-backs.
I would hope he stays with us just because I do feel that with like you talked about with the Rule 5, there's a little bit of money involved. Maybe if we do keep him, he would probably be a really solid trade piece that could, incentivize another team to, kind of make that deal with us to be like, cool, this could be somebody that if we're getting them and it's not a Rule 5 thing to where we have to put them on the major league roster, we can put them in our minor league system, let them cook a little bit, get our coaching on them, and then, try to turn something out of him, because you did make a good point. He's really athletic. He's got some real potential, but it's as we saw with that time miss, like we don't know if that high ceiling is still going to be there or maybe if it's come down a little bit. So Brandon, I know you kind of touched on him a little bit on not being too sold on him or too high on him, but what are some of your thoughts on just him being left off the 40-man, which I believe he was added to last spring to avoid him going to be Rule 5 eligible?
I have no expectations for him anymore. I think he has a very high ceiling. I think the talent is there, but like Gabe said, like he was in such a limbo phase for so long. It's gonna take him a while to really bounce back, and with how much depth that this franchise has at outfield, I just don't see a way of him being able to really see the field on a consistent basis. I think he is a trade piece, like someone you might include, like we talked about earlier, Cody Bellinger, include him there with Jordan Montgomery, maybe. I know a lot of the fan base would probably get really mad that we trade him, but like Gabe has said on numerous
Control.
occasions, 6 years control. Oh my gosh. But no, like Gabe has said, like you don't need to hoard these guys. If you know what they are and you can get something really good back, go ahead and trade them. I want to talk about, just because I love the name, Tim Tawa. I think he potentially could fill the Kevin Newman role, Mr. Utility, because last season he played 34 games at first, 57 at second, 12 at third, 28 in the outfield. So he could be potential. And I feel like there's a reason why they put him on the 40 man. Like they really, really like him. They like that versatility. I just think it's someone to keep an eye on. And like he had really good numbers. Like, yeah, he didn't play that much in Reno. He only had about 150 at bats, but he had 10 homers. Again, it's the PCL. Take that with a grain of salt. Those numbers are always inflated. But he's someone that I'm kind of hoping gets an invite to spring training, and let's see what he does. You are muted.
Thank you very much. I will try to keep my keyboard clacking down because I know it can be annoying. I'm definitely going to hope that Tawa has a really solid spring and can kind of earn himself onto the opening day roster spot as the Kevin Newman replacement, because he does play infield and outfield, which the being in the outfield, I know Newman probably could, but he was more of just anywhere on the infield guy, first, second, short, third if we needed him for a little bit before Gino figured his stuff out. But I think Tawo is a pretty interesting guy to keep an eye on. And then, like I was kind of talking about with Elvis, I want to see his development a little bit. We never know with pitchers. Sometimes they could have a really solid spring and then they get to another level and they just kind of fall apart. I know Yumin Lin had an injury that kind of took a little bit of time from him, but I would say that he had somewhat of a step back in 24 compared to 23, but that's just because his 2023 was so insane. So pitchers, I like to see a little bit more, especially once they get to Reno. I feel like that's the real test. But there was a little bit of other D-backs news in general that's not like, I guess, fully like crazy newsworthy, but if you're chronically online or chronically into like the sports card collecting and some of the other like video game stuff, you might be aware of. But Jordan Lawler and Justin Martinez, for all of you card nuts out there, do have their one of one, or I guess I should say one of them has their one of one MLB debut patch auto out there in the new Topps update boxes. So if you're a ripper, go out there, get some hobby boxes, try to get it. You will not have any luck finding the Justin Martinez one, unfortunately, because a breaker in New York did get that. I saw on Justin's Instagram, he's trying to get a deal with him to try to buy that card. So I've always thought those were pretty cool. I know some people could see it as a gimmick, but the debut cards are pretty cool. Some other cards that not in real life, but virtual is Jock Peterson, big Cockamus Jockamus, and Justin Martinez both got themselves finally, yeah. Like Brandon said in the Discord, we can kind of talk about it again. Go to the Discord. We have plenty of other discussions and topics and all that. We talk about all kinds of stuff that's not just D-back centralized, or is D-back centralized in a game. But Jock and Justin Martinez finally got a 99 overall 2024 finest for MLB The Show, and Cattell and potentially Gino should have some coming up as like maybe a collection or something. But at least the D-backs are getting a little bit of love there, which is always fun, especially if you like to play MLB The Show. Pretty fun game. And then one of the other side news that I was tempted to kind of keep this as a full-on topic, but figured, we'll maybe save it for another like segment down the road or something when we get a little bit more of a development. I guess we see what it comes out of it. But the D-backs did open up a brand new state-of-the-art facility in the Dominican Republic. They had a bunch of people there for the opening, like Derek Hall, Mike Hazen, Emil Sade, and then even some of the current players like Domo, Martinez, and Lawler. To go along with, we talked about it last time on our Mount Rushmore, some of the honorable mentions. Miguel Montero, Jose Valverde, Miguel Bautista, and Danny Bautista were there. Kind of, again, just christening the new ballpark, kind of like showing off what's there. And some of the things they have were pretty cool. They're the only team facility in the DR that it's going to have lights, so they can not only have night practices, but they can actually have like night games, get a little more time in, a little more development in. A few more hours every day could be the difference between these guys having a more fast track progression to the major league level than maybe having a few hindrances here and there. But got some new dormitories. They got a barbershop and lounge for the players to hang at, kind of build that camaraderie, get to know each other more. 3 full fields, so they can probably try to like hide guys at certain fields, or at least get them some more of the attention they deserve. They got covered batting cages to deal with any of the weather they have. If it gets too hot, they can at least stay inside a little bit. They got a new agility field, modernized training and weight rooms, and then also classrooms and dining rooms. So it just seems like a whole lot of love went into that facility. I know they kind of started talking about it a few years ago, and we're seeing it at least opened up now. And as I said, we're going to have to wait probably a few years to see the fruits of the labor of that facility kind of make its way here. But what are some of your guys' thoughts on just some of this other just generalized D-backs news? Literally, like spill your heart out. What are we're getting emotional out here? Like pick your brain, or anything that kind of jumped out to you that maybe you had a thought. Like Brandon, I know the MLB The Show you'll get to, but Gabe, I want to start with you. Lawler Martinez card, Jock, Justin, Cattell, the other guys getting cards, and then obviously the D-backs new DR facility.
I mean, it's nice to see the guys that get actual, physical baseball cards. I think it shows like a certain amount of hype and backing from MLB for them to be able to get those cards. But I think the most important thing for me would be the DR facilities, just because like they don't have lights. Like, how crazy is that? Like, there's this whole big deal because Wrigley Field got like lights in '87 or whatever. That's like 40 years ago that the last stadium that got lights, in the US got them, and then we don't have them in the DR for whatever reason. Like, is it just a grid system? Like, what's going on over there? Like, they spend so much money over there that they're not even like paying for these guys to be able to play, at night, like especially with the weather and stuff. Like, you in this hot, humid summer days, like you have them just playing out in the sun the whole time. Like, that's crazy. Like, I don't know, but I think it's great. I think it does put a lot of goodwill with the D-backs standing in the DR. They probably could help them sign more people there, even better prospects, maybe like the Juan Soto's of the DR and stuff like that, because I mean he is from the DR, right? Like, but more Juan Soto's or even Pujols is like, there's certain guys like that become great that come from there, and being able to have this sort of advantage, I think is gonna be valuable down the road. Like, they have an academy as well. They're gonna teach them, give him actual schooling, from what I heard. So again, it's going to be all encompassing, be an actual academy for these guys. So it's going to change a lot of lives. And I think, when it comes down to it, whether, which maybe just depends on the money as well. But as we're seeing with international signings, like sometimes they just have to sign for like $50,000, but those $50,000 is going to turn to Jose Altuve down the road. That's great. So I do think, maybe 10 years from now, like I know this is way in the future, but 10 years from now, I could see this team being full of, amazing Dominican players. And if not full of amazing Dominican players, then guys we traded away and got just ridiculous packages for.
Yeah, so hopefully we don't have a trade like what the Dodgers did when they traded away Yordan Alvarez for Josh Fields, or when they traded away O'Neal Cruz. Thank you, Dodgers, for doing that, by the way. Could you imagine the current team with Alvarez and Cruz? I would puke, most likely. Yes,
I don't think they have Shohei if they have
Yordan no, Alvarez. They would have had to pay Yordan already. But still, though, I think it is a good point that Gabe brings up of, this is, I think, if nothing but good, whether we see it's good for us, or, just it's nice to see them put that money into, trying to develop over there, because there are a lot of great baseball players there, and you never know. It could be that could be the difference of, somebody getting the attention they need and the little bit of specialized, training facilities, and seeing them be a, kind of guy that gets maybe up to the AA level but doesn't really pan out, versus a guy that maybe not on Juan Soto's level, but could be close to it. Could be close to what we're seeing from some of these guys that are now making, because a lot of guys from the Dominican are making a big impact in baseball nowadays. And it's nice to see the D-backs kind of recognize that and go ahead, like, hey, we can get our foot in there. We can show these guys that, like, yes, it might be, maybe not the Dodgers, some of the other teams that might have been there a little bit longer, but we could at least show that, like, hey, we're willing to, do what we can to get the most out of you. And then, Brandon, before I get to you on the thing, I do want to say, at least on the one-on-one patch cards, I know the Justin Martinez deal is not going to be anywhere near what that Paul Skeens deal is going to be for the Pirates. If you guys didn't see that, the Pirates are willing to trade the Paul Skeens 101 for two season tickets behind home plate for 30 years, a whole spring training thing where you get to warm up with the team, meet Paul Skeens, autograph jersey and all that. And then Livy Dunn is also going to invite you to watch a Pirates game in her suite. So the guy is probably a little sad he didn't pull the Skeens one, but I still think the Justin Martinez one is pretty cool. But Brandon, what are some of your thoughts on the debut patch cards, the MLB The Show cards, which I know that you and I were both pretty pumped about, and then obviously the new facilities and all the things that they're kind of putting their money into down in the Dominican Republic?
Yeah. In regards to that Paul Skeens card, sell the card. It's the Pirates. You're gonna get so much more money. Like, unless you're a diehard Pirates fan, I would just sell. I would just sell the card. Like, you're gonna get so much more money if you just sell the card. So, I thought it was interesting, the whole debut card for Justin Martinez, and then it's announced he has that MLB The Show card, which, by the way, nobody knows who he is. If you go and look at the tweet from MLB The Show, they're all like, who?
So you know who's a casual and who's not.
Well, yeah, and there was like 10 or 15 people in there that got really stoked because they know how good he is. Like, they know how good his fastball is, knows how good his sinker is. I got more excited for the Justin Martinez card because he only has one card in the game, and it's the live series. It doesn't even have the right pitch repertoire. Doesn't have his splitter, which I was like, wait, what? Like, I got so mad looking at that live series card. So I got super stoked for that. So I'm like, all right, I got to find out where in that collection is Justin Martinez, because I'm going to try and get that one right away, because that will be a deadly reliever card to have. Jock Peterson one. I'm pretty excited for that one too, because he only has his live series card as a Diamondback. Like, he has a Dodgers captain card that's really, really good that I enjoy playing with because he hits damn nukes, y'all. Like, he just hits nukes with it.
Just like real life.
Yeah, just like real Jock Peterson. I don't know if we get another Cattell card because he has had quite a bit. I think we should get a Gino card because Gino only has his live series one as a Diamondback. So it's not really D-backs related, but we got some news on MLB The Show for next year. They're getting rid of sets and seasons, which is a huge thing. Basically, they restrict you on using certain cards throughout the year. So it was really great for them to say, yeah, that's going away next year. I know a lot of people that play Diamond Dynasty that hated it. Like, just stop playing.
So that's why I didn't play past like May, basically.
So yeah, but I think the biggest story out of everything we talked about is this new facility in the Dominican Republic. Like this is huge. The fact that they're the only team with lights, so not only can we see them, they can have night, like, people can go because most people work. A lot of the people that live down there work during the day. So how are they supposed to go? So it's nice that it's now here at night. I was very surprised as to how many people were there. Derek Hall, Mike Hazen, Sade was down there, and then like you mentioned, Miguel Montero, Jose Valverde, Miguel Bautista. I mean, Jordan Lawler was already down there, so that's not that big a one. And then you had Geraldo Perdomo, Justin Martinez. So it was really, really great. So yeah, I think that's going to be something to keep our eyes on to see if they're going to be able, because all the great players in Major League Baseball right now, outside of Shohei, most of them are from that part of the world, and that's Central America. So a lot of that, like, if you just look at the last World Baseball Classic, go look at the roster for the Dominican Republic. It's an all-star team. It is an all-star team. Like, it
It's
was
literally
like
the fantasy draft order in MLB when you just get to pick when you turn off all the budgets and you turn on forced trades and you're like, yes, you're going to take Pavin Smith for, Shohei Ohtani. Thank you very much, MLB.
Yeah, like literally how deep and how many great players come from the Dominican Republic, and it's only gonna keep doing this. It's only gonna So if it's gonna be really interesting to see if this team can find some of those players and develop them within our own organization, because then we might get used to, we're in the NLCS year after year after year.
I do think one of the benefits, because I know they've talked about it in the DR for a while, like when you do sign one of those guys to your, like when you bring them on when they're, because like, they get still crazy. I think there's some more like politics and all that that's maybe they need to like rework, because it's crazy that like 14-year-olds
or lying about their age.
Away. That's a whole different thing that like I don't think will ever probably be fully addressed. But like the fact that, again, with the age, like guys signed at 12, 13, 14, when they do get them in early, they get to like, put them in their facility behind closed doors, and none of these other teams can see what they're doing. They know, they're like, oh yeah, when he was like 13, he was this size, he had this like ceiling. You never know where that ceiling raises or where that potential goes if it does lower, because they do basically have like exclusive, time with them, and nobody else gets to like, it's not like a free agent open trial thing where it's like, oh no, like they can just go wherever. Like, no, they don't get to see these players, because the D-backs are the ones that went in, got them early, showed them this like, hey, you want to come work at this facility, we'll get the best out of you. But
That's
one
all
of
I
the
got.
yeah, say any other final thoughts, gentlemen, on just anything? I know like we had a lot to touch on tonight, but any other things that we didn't get to say?
I just want to say, like in that Paul Skeens card, like the Pirates' value was something like $700,000 or whatever. Like the way that crap works is, if you win, if you decide to do that, it's not given to you for free. You're gonna have to pay taxes because it's like a gift or whatever, and especially with the value, so you're gonna have to pay taxes, and you're probably gonna have to spend like maybe $100,000 that you don't have in cash value because you accepted, seats behind home plate in quotes, which means you're still like at 300 level or something like that. So take the money, get 1.5-2 million dollars for that card, and then if you need to pay the taxes on that, whatever, you still have a couple million anyways.
Or do what the kind of like what that one guy's probably going to do: hit up the player that you pull it. Like if you pull the Jordan Lawler, I'm sure some of these guys are definitely willing to like, hey man, I'll give you a cash deal on that thing. Meet up, shake your hand, get a photo. Like, cool, thank you very much. Shake hands, go separate ways. But it is pretty cool that they have these cards.
How much did the guy get for the Shohei? I think it was like $5 million, right?
Yeah, the Shohei ball I think got $5 million, something like that. And
Yeah,
like
and the
I
Dodgers
know,
were like, "Oh, we'll give you a couple bats, and you won't even get to meet Shohei or whatever." They
yes, they like
no.
Tops themselves had a 50K bounty on that Skeens card, so you're already going to get a good chunk of money, whether you either take that bounty or go through like an auction house. Go through the one I work at. We're really cool. Just kidding. But yeah, so it's definitely going to be interesting. We're going to probably see that all over Twitter whenever that card gets pulled, and there'll probably be some memes, especially if somebody does take that deal. I'd rather have it be a Pirates fan that gets to at least have some cool like experiences out of it. But then again, like I'm kind of on the same boat as you guys. Like just take the money. You're probably gonna get backdoored on all the fees and all that, but who knows? Those cards could sit there for months and never be pulled, because that sometimes happens with certain sports cards like that. Yeah, so I believe we don't have any full like schedule obviously for next week yet.
It's not going to be Thursday.
It's not going to be Thursday because, again, Thanksgiving. So, again, if we are going live after that, happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Enjoy all the food. I know there's going to be, whether it's turkey, ham. I know some people hate turkey. Some people hate ham. Some people hate all of it. I know a lot of people are like, give me all the green bean casserole, macaroni, and cheese. I am those people. Yes, I am. But I guess before we get out of here, because I imagine we'll probably save it, maybe we'll do like a Black Friday thing. One final thing is just a quick, what are you're thankful for going into this, and then what's some food that you are always looking forward to whenever it comes to Thanksgiving season? Gabe, I'll start with you.
Thankful for? I don't know. Should I do like a real one or like a
You can
pretend
do
one?
both,
Because
Mimi and a real
because
one.
the real one is so it's going to be like my family's health, my dog's health. Like it's just the normal, basic ones. But I guess for things to be thankful for, at least in terms of D-backs, it's nice to be excited for the team. Like I know they missed the playoffs, but having a team you're excited for and looking forward to is after so many years, just being like, oh, okay, let's see what they do this year. Like hopefully this team doesn't just completely crap the bed. Another year in a row. So like, it is nice to be able to look forward to certain things, especially like we talked about, like Lawler, Troy. We have a lot of young guys up in the system, and I want to be really happy to see a lot of them actually come out and play and, be out in the facilities in March. So maybe we can meet some of them. Like this team is really, I mean, they're already here, but I think they're building to something even better.
Yeah, I think that's we'll probably have all the same answers. Like, we're grateful for especially the real life things like the community we have here, family, parents, the health for me and Kayla's hopefully, well, not hopefully, but kid that's due in May, little Slade, got to get the new next generation of D-backs fans going. So thankful for all that, but kind of same is just, it's nice to go into some of these off seasons and not be like, oh, like the Pavin Smith, Josh Bell 2 years ago would have probably been our big, oh my gosh, we have a, there you go. There's our big move. We're going to go get some other mid pitcher and then we're going to wrap it up. We're going to go into spring training and that's going to be it. But Brandon, kind of same thing to you. What are some of the things you're thankful for with obviously personal life, D-backs, and then what's either some like food that you always look forward to?
I'm thankful for the both of you that we've been able to do this podcast, and I want to say thank you to everyone that has supported us since the beginning there. Whether you support us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, you've joined our Discord, everyone that's joined us here on our live streams, like I'm really thankful for that we all get to kind of come together and talk about things that we really, really enjoy. That's the main thing that I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for Ketel Marte because he's just so exciting. Like when he's healthy, in my opinion, he's the best second baseman in all of Major League Baseball, and it's not close. And this season we saw that. We saw how good he is when he's healthy. My favorite Thanksgiving food though is stuffing. I love stuff. I could eat that all day. Stuffing and green bean casserole. Could have that over and over and over and over. And I usually do because we have so many leftovers. I have it for like 2 days after. So.
Yes, I love some turkey soup after. My mom makes the best turkey soup with leftovers. I think you're muted.
Yeah. So for food, it might sound like I'm bragging a little bit here, but yeah, every time I gone and traveled somewhere like to Europe and stuff, like man, hot wings and Mexican food, like that's something I need so bad every time I come back. Like that's the first thing I do is just buy some wings and have my mom make certain Mexican food because yeah, I need that. Like the food is great over there. Same with Japan too. The food is great, but like I need some hot wings and Gabriel never thanks me for buying. Calm down. He bought me Popeyes or KFC the other day. That's about it.
Man, say I'm thankful my mouth is still intact. I had some Dave's hot chicken. Don't get the Reaper. Oh my god, I got halfway through and I'm pretty sure my mouth melted off. So I'm gonna be happy that I have some normal tasting, not on fire, food in this upcoming week and all that. But again, as the two on my sides kind of touched to, we are all thankful for each and every one of you guys for tuning in, whether it's the live shows on YouTube, Instagram, Blue Sky. I know we're new on there, but Blue Sky, Twitter, TikTok, all that. Genuinely, any engagement, even on the Discord, especially. Like you guys are the reason why we're basically even like doing this. Because if not, it would just be the three of us just talking to each other about this on camera. And it's always just nice to know that there's people that are interested at least in a little bit. So seriously, bottom of all our hearts, we appreciate every one of you guys. We will be back again next week. Could be a day before Thanksgiving, could be the day after, could be on the weekend. We're not too sure.
It's not going to be Wednesday.
It's not going to be
Wednesday, Thursday for me.
There you go. And then it'll probably be Friday or Saturday. Then we'll get it all figured out. And again, join the Discord because we will probably let you guys know there. But again, in the meantime, this has been another fun episode of Dbacks Dispatch. We appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in. We have been Brett, Brandon, and Gabe, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
It's the Dbacks Dispatch. Yeah, Brandon, Red, Gabe, Josh on the phone. West Coast vibes, catch us on the air. Home running dogs, diamond gems we share. Brandon was a dad, Caesar man was a plan. Red brace it down, tells it like it is, man. Gabs on fire, brings the heat every time. Josh on the mix, keep the beat so prime. Ain't got the insights every week's a hit. Tune in, Dbacks Dispatch, this is it. Now we roll. Dbacks Dispatch, yeah. Talk to Brandon, Gabe, this is Big Catch. Josh on the mix, he make the beats. West Coast vibe, got the G fucking the bad. The home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac. Dbacks Dispatch, we're here to stay. Yeah, catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it. We got the home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. Dbacks Dispatch, we're here to stay. Catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it.